Have you heard? In 1998, Mattel released the World of Barbie catalog, which included current and upcoming releases. Gracing the cover was a Barbie doll that had a unique appearance from other Playline dolls of the time. The doll had a Mackie face sculpt, straight strawberry blonde hair with bangs, and a muted makeup palette. This doll would be part of a new line, called Really Rad Barbie and Friends. The Really Rad line featured 4 diverse characters, each with a colorful, trendy outfit and accessories. Apart from the Mackie sculpt, the line would also use the Kira, Miko sculpt, the Nichelle sculpt, and the Teresa sculpt. Teresa Moore would note in an article for SF Gate dated November 18, 1997, that the Really Rad Barbie dolls would have a new body with a wider waist, smaller chest, and flat feet. Mattel spokesperson Sean Fitzgerald noted that these changes were not a reaction to feminist claims, that the dolls' proportions were a harmful and distorted image of women. He would go on to say that Mattel was very aware of those charges, but these changes actually came about from feedback given by Barbie's target audiences. Rather, these dolls were seen as a move to reverse declining sales from tween and teen consumers, who were rapidly losing interest in fashion dolls, like Barbie, in favor of technology and fashion products. According to a blog post by Polish doll collector Irenes, the dolls were assigned dealer catalog numbers and McDonald's Happy Meal toys were produced in the likeness of Really Rad Barbie. The SF Gate article would also mention that the line was scheduled for an October 1998 release. Despite being so far ahead in production and deemed the tentpole of the Barbie brand in 1998, the Really Rad line would be cancelled abruptly. However, Mattel did not give up on modernizing Barbie for a new millennium.
Generation Girls!
At International High School, USA, 6 best friends met the very first day.
In 1999, Mattel would release the Generation Girl line of Barbie dolls. Generation Girl as a brand would reflect trends in fashion, technology, youth culture, and of course, globalization. The line depicted Barbie and her 5 friends as students at an international high school in New York City, aptly named International High. The first edition of Generation Girl dolls featured Barbie, an aspiring actress who hailed from California, and her friends, Nichelle Williams, also known as Nichelle Watson in the book series, an aspiring model from New York. Tori Burns, known as Susie or Vicky depending on the territory, a sports lover from Melbourne, Australia. Lara Morelli-Strauss, an artist from Paris, France, also known as Marie in other territories. Ana Suarez, known as Marissa in other markets, a swimmer from Mexico City, Mexico. And Chelsea Peterson, a budding singer-songwriter from London, England. Each doll came with 2 outfits, accessories that related to their interests, doll stand, bookmark, and a copy of the Generation Girl magazine, which would be called Generation Beat in later releases. The initial release featured a different brand logo with a blocky font. Some aspects that were carried over from the Really Rad line were the Barbie doll's catalog number, which was used for the first edition Generation Girl Barbie, the curly hair texture used on the Nichelle doll, and the multi-layered fashions of each character. The first edition Generation Girl dolls would mark the debut of 3 new face sculpts, all dated with the year 1998, the Generation Girl or CEO sculpt used on Barbie, the Lara Anna head sculpt, and the Tori Chelsea head sculpt. The Asha head sculpt, first seen in the 1991 Shani line, was used for Nichelle, instead of the Nichelle sculpt from the same line that was used in the Really Rad doll prototypes. The dolls would have the standard twist and turn waists and bend and snap knees of the time, but would have jointed arms for added posability. One of the most notable aspects of the dolls were their piercings and tattoos, which reflected the growing popularity of body modifications going into the new millennium. There was another tattoo-oriented Barbie doll on the market at the time, the butterfly art Barbie doll and Friends. Unfortunately, Mattel received criticism for these body modifications. Lisa McKendall, a spokesperson for Mattel, would state that a few consumers called and said they were concerned with the body art. To respond to that, we decided to not include a tattoo and nose ring on dolls that were upcoming. Mattel would reissue the first edition dolls without the body art and piercings, along with a new logo for the brand. They would also release 2 doll gift sets of the first edition dolls, one with Barbie and Lara and another with Barbie and Nichelle. Each gift set came with a copy of the first book in the Generation Girl book series, New York Here We Come. Speaking of the book series, Mattel and Gold Key would publish 12 Generation Girl chapter books written by Melanie Stewart. Apart from the book series, Mattel would continue the brand's world through the Generation Girl website, which included character profiles, chatroom messages of the Generation Girls, and a virtual version of the Generation Beat magazine. Mattel would also branch into other areas of merchandising through the release of the Generation Girl Memory Keeper and the Generation Girl Friendship Connection board game. Later in 1999, Mattel and Vivendi Games would release the Generation Girl Got a Groove computer game. Players could pick Barbie, Nichelle, Tori, Chelsea, or Anna and choreograph a dance routine for their corresponding theme music. They could also customize outfits and sets for the characters to dance in with Lara. Coincidentally, Mattel would release the Dance Party line of Generation Girl dolls, box dated 1999 and commercials dated 2000. This line would notably introduce 2 new characters, Mari Nakano, known as Mariko in other markets, and Blaine Gordon. Mari originally hailed from Tokyo, Japan and moved to New York. Her profile would mention that she wanted to become a radio engineer or video game designer in the future. Blaine, an aspiring musician, was a New York native who served as the music editor for Generation Beat magazine and was a DJ. He would be in an on and off relationship with Anna. Both dolls would have new head sculpts. Mari's would be marked with the year 1998 like the rest of the new female sculpts in the line, and the Blaine sculpt would be marked with the year 1999. The Blaine sculpt was intended to be used earlier in the 1999 Totally Yo-Yo Skipper doll line, for Skipper's new boyfriend, Zach. However, the Zach doll would be scrapped and the head sculpt, instead, would be used for Blaine. In fact, the book series would describe Blaine as having brunette hair, much like the Zach character. Other characters included in the Dance Party lineup were Barbie, Nichelle, Tori, and Lara. A Dance Party Chelsea doll would also be released, but would be a Toys R Us exclusive. Anna would notably be missing from this line, and it would be noted that she transferred out of International High. Some releases included a copy of a Generation Girl chapter book. Around this time, Mattel would also release the International High playset, which included a set of lockers that could be folded out into a dance floor, a working microphone, audio jack, and spaces for the Generation Beat office and cafeteria. Generation Gear fashion packs for the dolls were also released, which included a character-specific outfit and a collectible accessory for kids, such as a ring. In collaboration with McDonald's, Mattel would release a Generation Girl Tori-inspired doll as part of a set of Barbie-themed Happy Meal toys. Mattel would also use the Generation Girl brand to tie into their other doll releases, such as the Vitamin C Barbie doll released in the year 2000. The Generation Girl website would have a special section dedicated to the new Vitamin C doll. In 2001, Mattel would release the My Room line of Generation Girl dolls. This line would feature packaging that could be transformed into a bedroom for the dolls. The line included Barbie, Nichelle, Tori, Lara, Mari, Blaine, and Anna, who returned back to International High. Chelsea would not be included in this line, and the website would note that she decided to stay with her family in China, after her diplomat father was transferred there. Each room included a bed and a window along with various accessories related to the characters' interests. Unlike previous releases, however, the dolls would not come with a second outfit. Along with the release of this line, Mattel would run a room makeover giveaway and also introduce new, My Room-themed games and activities on the website. Meanwhile, Mattel was becoming incredibly concerned with the decrease in tween consumers, and with the release of MGA's Bratz dolls, the company was reassessing the strength of the Barbie brand. It seemed as though the Generation Girl line was not making the impact that Mattel was hoping for with their targeted demographics. And the 9/11 terrorist attacks would make a significant impact both in the real world, as well as in the fictional world of the Generation Girls. 2 days after the attacks, Mattel would issue a statement on the Generation Girl website that the girls and their loved ones in New York City were safe and sound. On the chat section of the Generation Girl website, 10 days after the attacks, the Generation Girls would discuss the ways in which they were helping their New York community rebuild and how many of the girls considered New York to be their second home. Later on November, the girls would discuss how they were leaving International High, likely due to the aftermath of the attacks, to study abroad elsewhere. Barbie decided to move to China to be closer to her parents, Nichelle decided to study in Paris, Mari would stay in London, Lara would go to Italy, while Anna and Blaine would go to Peru to teach English to children. By 2002, the Generation Girl website would state that the girls have left for a fab adventure and encourage kids to visit one of their Mattel sister sites. However, this wouldn't be the last time the Generation Girl brand name was used.
Mystery Squad! Meet the stylish mystery crew on the case, tracking clues. Mystery Squad!
In 2002, the Mystery Squad line of Barbie dolls would be released. The line featured Barbie, Kenzie, Shawnee, and Drew, as a high-tech group of mystery solvers. Each doll had their own specialized spy equipment and included clues to solve the mystery of the prom queen. Much like the Generation Girl brand, the Mystery Squad line would have a website that included various activities such as a mystery maker and a message decoder. The aspect that tied the two lines together was the Generation Girl branding tag on the dolls' outfits. Perhaps these were going to be used for an unreleased wave of Generation Girl dolls before the line's cancellation in 2001. Some of the dolls in the line would also use sculpts that were introduced in the Generation Girl line, particularly Barbie with the namesake head sculpt and Drew who had the Tori Chelsea head sculpt. Despite this odd incorporation of the Generation Girl branding, the line was still cancelled, as confirmed by the June 2002 issue of Barbie Bazaar. It was clear that Mattel was preparing another Barbie spin-off that was also based in New York City and was targeted towards an older audience. This time, however, Mattel would take inspiration from their competitors, the Bratz dolls, and give the dolls in this line more stylized proportions. This new line of dolls would be called My Scene. Although the Generation Girl line lasted only 3 years, it marked a significant shift in the Barbie doll's image and overall branding, though this was hinted at with the Really Rad line of dolls. The dolls had fresh faces and clothes that reflected a variety of fashion trends at the time. It also reflected the aspirations of young millennials and how globalization and technology would impact the world. From a doll standpoint, the new head sculpts introduced in the Generation Girl line would be used in other Barbie releases. The Generation Girl Barbie sculpt would be the signature face of Playline Barbie until the mid-2010s. The Blaine head sculpt and character would be recycled into the Cali Girl line of Barbie dolls in 2004. This iteration of Blaine would be a hunky Australian surfer who would become Barbie's boyfriend after her breakup with Ken. The Tori and Nichelle character names would also be recycled for other Barbie releases in the 2000s. The Lara head sculpt would become a staple of the Barbie collector range of dolls, while the Tori head sculpt would be occasionally used for dolls, such as the 2018 Hispanic holiday Barbie doll. The Mari sculpt would be used for dolls such as the 2016 chiffon ball gown Barbie doll and the 2021 Lunar New Year Barbie doll. Although the Generation Girl line did not introduce all of the features touted for the Really Rad Barbie line, Mattel would finally introduce a more realistic Barbie body in 2000, as they hinted at in the 1997 SF Gate article. This new body, with a non-twisting waist, fuller hips, smaller chest, and a belly button was introduced in the Jewel Girl line of Barbie dolls and would eventually become the standard Barbie body until 2015. The My Scene dolls, in fact, would use this new body sculpt instead of the twist and turn body that was used by the Generation Girl dolls. The Generation Girl line of dolls marked the Barbie brand's shift towards more fashion, entertainment, and character-oriented play patterns going into the early 2000s. This line would also mark the start of Mattel's focus on online media content, when creating new doll brands, as it helped them engage with a new generation of tech-savvy consumers. Turning dolls into full-fledged characters with distinct personalities and styles proved to be quite successful for Mattel and their rival MGA Entertainment, as they competed to attract tween and adult collectors to their products. The generation girls and guy each had their own dreams, hobbies, and personal struggles that fans could resonate with. While it did not have the closure that fans would have wanted, partly due to the tragic events of 9/11, the Generation Girl line's legacy is still evident within the Barbie brand and other Mattel toy brands to this day. The diversity, fashion, and attitude of these 8 best friends are still adored by many collectors to this day.